They help me create. Quite often. I don't want to know what's going on. You can't say this. She was living in and I had pen.
All right, we are live. We are live today. You got your microphone on? Wonderful. Hey, we're live. We're live in our Zoom room. We're live streaming to social media. Thank you for those of you that are new here and those of you that are returning. I put my attention in different places because weekly we do this live on Zoom and we stream to social media, and some other ministries use this message in their service. So we want to welcome everybody in. We're streaming right now. We have guests live in our Zoom room. We're streaming to our Facebook page, and later on this recording will go up on YouTube. So welcome everyone in. I'm Reverend Dr. Stephen J. 𝗥𝗲𝗀𝗲, and we are Unity Prosperity Ocean International. And so thank you all for being here. We're going to get going right away. We're going to bring up Reverend Tanae, who will share today's daily word and get us going here, Tanae.
Hello.
I know you don't like to stand right in front, but Walker's on here, okay, and I'm keeping an eye on it. Well, so take it away, Tanae.
Oh, okay. Well, hi, Walker.
Hey, Church.
Okay, hi, everybody. Let's just take in some deep breaths. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Imagine your own face in front of you right now. And I want you to say the words, I believe in you.
I believe in you.
And I love you.
I love you.
And then hug yourself. And then let it go. And then we'll move over to the daily word. And today's daily word is appreciation. Today is Sunday, June 14th. June 14th, Walker. So the affirmation today is, I express appreciation for my many, many blessings. So I express appreciation for my many, many blessings. I added one many, sorry. That's okay. I express appreciation for my many, many blessings. It has been said that what I appreciate appreciates me. I added again. The more I give thanks for what I have, the more blessings I will discover. Practicing gratitude in all circumstances helps me realize how abundantly blessed I am. When I remember all the good that God is, more good is revealed to me. Taking a breath, I give thanks for life. Opening my eyes, I give thanks for the clarity of spiritual vision. Listening deeply, I give thanks for divine wisdom. With each bite of food, every sip of water, I feel grateful for my body and physical senses. There's so much to appreciate, from the small everyday things to life's most grand events. Giving thanks with my whole heart brings me joy. I practice appreciation for all that I am, all that I have, and all that I do. And our scripture reference today is from the book of Psalms. It's the chapter 9, verse 1. And it reads, I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will tell of all your wonderful deeds. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and to the hearing of these words today. God bless you.
All right. Appreciate that, birthday girl. Her birthday was Friday. If you're wondering how old she is, she will not tell you. She is ageless, right? And I would have never known, but when we were dating, she got stung by a bee.
On our first date.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
And I wasn't sure. Like in the beginning, I'm thinking, I gotta somehow make sure she's 18. Um, I kind of figured she was, but when we were checking her into the hospital, I overheard when they asked for her birthday. So otherwise, I still would probably not know to this day.
Seen him and I'm like.
I was not. I was not. I was not. So welcome in, everybody. We're going to dive right in here today. And this is something I talk about a little bit during Lent, and I talk about in November when we talk about letting go and surrender and the power of renunciation. Thank you for being here, by the way, Barbara and Miguel, new friends we made not too long ago when 𝗏𝗍 did a talk on women's leadership, and Barbara's been a stellar student going through one of our personal development programs, and just great people. And so thank you for being here. So welcome. And we don't do a lot of music in the beginning. We'll do a little bit at the end. We get right into the message. And today I want to talk about something that sounds simple, but may actually be one of the most important principles of transformation and personal growth. And that's release. Release. I don't think we talk enough about it. We're going to talk about it in a little bit different way today. And it's about letting go in a way that we are aware that we're making space. Because sometimes the reason new life is not fully appearing is not because we don't need to grow, improve, and transform, experience the transformation we want to experience. It's because we need to release what no longer belongs. So think about that. Think about how nature teaches us this, the principle of space. Nature teaches us this constantly, if we think about it. It really does. A tree, for instance, new growth requires space, right? A tree sheds its leaves. A garden must be cleared, right? What do? We pull weeds, we plant flowers. A room must be emptied before it can be redesigned. Trixie's not here, but she'll tell you that doing the interior designing, right? We see that in all the shows on TV. They clear everything out, love it or list it. I'm going to start all over again. But, many people try to build new lives while holding on to old clutter, physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. That's where this message comes in, and spiritually too. We say we want change, but we leave no room for it. So let's start with the physical level. Think about this. Because our environments affect us more than we realize. They really do. Have you ever walked into a cluttered room and immediately felt that heaviness? You feel mentally heavy. I know I do.
Yes.
Or you entered a clean, open space and felt lighter. Environment matters. I know it does to me. It's like, all right, close the door. I want to get out of here, right? Or I get right at it and I get distracted and I start taking care of the clutter. But environment matters. Your surroundings influence focus, clarity, perspective, productivity, emotional state, energy levels, and creativity. And one reason many people feel mentally overwhelmed is because they are physically surrounded by unfinished energy. Closets full of things they never use. Garages packed with forgotten intentions. Drawers filled with randomness. Well, you're in the business, so that's another thing. That's going to prove to be fruitful and productive and add to your abundance. But we have drawers filled with randomness. Which one are we going to use? I remember moving in. Oh boy, we need more. Which one are we going to use for a drunk drawer? We're planning on it, right? So we got drawers filled. We got stacks of paper. People have stacks of paper. We all have stacks of paper we avoid. Storage units filled with the past. We had enough storage units here in Fort Walton Beach. My goodness. And here's something interesting. Physical clutter often represents postponed decisions, things we haven't fully dealt with, things we keep saying we'll get to someday. Where's that day on the calendar? You got that neat planner now where there's some days not in there, right? We plan things out. And stagnant, sometimes stagnant environments often create stagnant energy. You know, it's just like, So what about making room for what you want? This may sound simple, but it's very powerful psychologically. If you say you want a new car, don't do what you did, but you know, if you want a new car, but your garage is filled with clutter, what kind of message are you sending yourself? You're unconsciously sending yourself a message. I don't have room for it, right? There's no room, no preparation, no expectancy, no readiness. Transformation, the transformation that we seek, often begins with preparation before before manifestation, before the transformation has that opportunity to move in. Sometimes the act of cleaning, organizing, simplifying, and releasing is more than physical too. Now, Charles Fillmore, who is a Unity co-founder, our movement that we're ordained in here, and he referred to this spiritual practice of renunciation. We talk about the 12 powers of man in Unity, and the power we talk about in November, the 11th power is renunciation or releasing, not deprivation, not depriving ourselves, not sacrifice, but conscious release. Conscious release. In Unity teachings, renunciation means letting go of thoughts, habits, conditions, and attachments that no longer support our spiritual good, our spiritual growth, I should say, or our highest good. And perhaps one of the great misunderstandings people have about spiritual growth is they believe transformation only comes through gaining something new. But often transformation begins through release, releasing resentment, fear, limitation, clutter, unhealthy attachment, old emotional patterns, exhausted identities. And you know what? Jesus spoke about this, about losing life in order to find it. In other words, there are moments when we must loosen our grip on the old in order to receive something greater. A declaration that says, I am preparing for something new. And honestly, many people underestimate how emotionally freeing it feels to release physical excess, to clear the closet, right? To organize the office, to remove what no longer serves. Because every release creates space for movement. How about our bodies? What does the body need released? Moving deeper. What about the body itself? What might the body be asking us to release? Perhaps excess weight, inflammatory habits, exhaustion, chronic stress, poor sleep patterns, emotional eating, overstimulation, neglect. Now, this isn't about perfection. All right, we're not talking about perfection. We're just talking about awareness. I'm aware of these things because the body is always communicating, always signaling, always reflecting patterns of living. And many people today are carrying more than physical weight. This isn't just about physical weight. This is about carrying fatigue, carrying burnout, right? Carrying pressure. I mean, just this day and age, we carry around a lot of pressure. That's why meditation is important. Stress accumulation, we carry that. And over time, the body begins asking for relief, for support, for restoration. And let's remember, too, that health is not just appearance. One of the mistakes modern culture makes is reducing wellness to appearance alone. But true wellness is about energy, mobility, clarity, vitality, confidence, quality of life, the ability to fully participate in your own life. And sometimes healing begins not by adding more, but by releasing what is draining you physically, releasing habits that no longer support vitality, releasing patterns that weaken energy, releasing what the body has been tolerating for far too long. And what about from a mental perspective, mental release? Let's move into that mental dimension for just a minute, because this is where many people remain trapped. Old thought patterns, right? We recycle those old thought patterns over and over again. Old assumptions. We made an assumption, that becomes a belief, becomes a pattern, becomes an inner program. Old limitations, worry, doubt, fear, scarcity thinking. People often continually going through mental rehearsal, right? Rehearsing what could go wrong. Boy, that's a big one, isn't it? What could go wrong? We just sit down. Well, this could go wrong. That could go wrong. Oh, what if that messed up? I didn't think about that before. And believe me, I've been doing a lot of that the last couple of months, getting this new division, launched, and we're doing a lot of that. This could go wrong. That could go wrong. Well, what could go right? But we mentally rehearse it. What they lack, what failed before, why something may not work. And eventually those thoughts become familiar mental environments that we allow ourselves to live in. We create that. But here's the truth. You cannot consistently create a new life while mentally living in old limitation. At some point, the mind must be cleared. We have to do that clearing. Not denied, not suppressed, but renewed. Renewed. We kind of have a mental junk drawer, don't we? We really do. Mental junk drawer. Most people have these mental junk drawers. That's what I call them anyway. Old conversations, right? Old conversations, resentments, imaginary arguments, sometimes with others, and they didn't even really take place in the physical world. We have imaginary arguments with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. I didn't say. Back and forth. We beat ourselves up. Well, you're okay. No, you're not. Yeah. Resentments, imaginary regrets, self-criticism. That's going on all the time. Negative assumptions, fear-based scenarios. Oh, those pictures, right? And just like physical clutter, mental clutter consumes energy. It weakens focus, weakens creativity, weakens optimism. It weakens our decision-making ability too. And eventually, people become mentally exhausted. Not because life is impossible, but because the mind is overcrowded. There's too much stuff in there, right? And here's one I often bring up, and that's about worry, releasing worry. It's really, we really got to work on this. Worry is especially important to release because worry creates the illusion of preparation while actually producing emotional depletion. It's really clear. I love that when that dropped in. Worry creates the illusion of preparation while actually producing emotional depletion. So what are we, if we're worrying, then what are we preparing for? We're preparing for what we don't want, right? If I worry enough, I'll somehow gain control. But worry rarely creates clarity. From a metaphysical perspective, worry is often misunderstood. People think worry is preparation in a way. They think it's constructive preparation. But spiritually speaking, worry is frequently a form of negative prayer. Because we know our thoughts are prayers, right? And so worry is actually praying for something we don't want to happen to move into our field of experience. And it's hard not to worry sometimes. I get it, you know. But it's sustained emotional attention placed upon what we fear rather than what we desire. So where's our attention going, right? Because our energy is going to flow to where our attention is. So that's important to realize this. And we see this in the book of Job. In chapter 3, verse 25, he said, "The thing which I greatly feared is come upon me." What was he doing? He was worried and worried and worried about it. Here it is. It showed up, right? Because the energy flows where the attention goes. But and that, it doesn't mean every fearful thought magically creates reality. It has the potential to, but it does reveal an important spiritual principle. Attention carries creative energy, to say it another way. And when consciousness becomes saturated with fear, anxiety, and imagined disaster, we begin emotionally rehearsing outcomes we do not actually want. We rehearse them. We're doing what? We're feeding them our energy. I often say in many of my talks, are we feeding fear or are we feeding faith? Right? Jesus understood this deeply when he repeatedly said, "Be not anxious." That comes from one of my favorite scriptures, and I'll just paraphrase it here. I don't have it in front of me, but he's saying, "Be not anxious for what you would wear, what you will wear, and what you will eat. Even the lilies of the field neither toil or spin, but all their needs are met," right? Be not anxious, not because challenges are unreal. Oh, they indeed are real. But because fear clouds faith. Fear of faith is what it comes down to. Worry constricts, trust opens. Worry constricts, trust opens. And there comes a moment in spiritual maturity when we finally realize I do not have to mentally carry every burden in order for life to move forward. I don't have to do that. Because every burden, it usually creates anxiety. And that's not a creative space or environment or atmosphere to be in. Anxious thinking blocks creative thinking. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life come when the mind finally becomes quiet enough. That's why we do meditation every week. When the mind finally becomes quiet enough to receive new insight. That's why I always liken it to, we can visualize, we think in pictures, throwing the sheet over the bed, right? And it comes down and it eventually just settles there, right? Then we can smooth it out. You can't smooth it out while it's still settling, right? So what about emotions, emotional release? Now let's move even deeper here. emotionally. Many people carry around enormous amounts of unresolved emotional energy, disappointment, anger, resentment, bitterness, hurt. And while time passes externally, emotion often remains internally active. People carry yesterday's emotional garbage. I even talked about this one time. I had a garbage bag up on stage. I don't know if you remember that. Dragging it around, but that's what we do. If we could see it, we carry yesterday's emotional garbage into today's opportunities. And eventually, emotional accumulation becomes heavy. It becomes today's heaviness. I mean, emotional weight can be just as exhausting as physical weight. Because unresolved emotional energy, it affects sleep, focus, health, relationships, motivation, creativity, and confidence. Probably a few more that I didn't put on the list. And many people don't realize how much energy they are spending emotionally carrying things that no longer need to be carried. I don't need to carry this anymore. I don't need to. Sometimes the most healing thing a person can say is, I no longer need to carry this. It's time to forgive. Or, what I've learned over the years, if you're one of those people, I don't know if I can ever forgive that. At least move yourself to a place and say, I am willing to forgive. Maybe not all the there yet, but say, I am willing to forgive. And then realize that forgiveness is also release work. That's what forgiveness is. It's not pretending something didn't hurt. Indeed, it did. It's not approval. It's not saying it's okay. It's not denial. Forgiveness is the decision to stop carrying toxic emotional energy into the future. Because unresolved resentment quietly occupies enormous emotional space. It drains vitality, consumes thought, disturbs peace, and eventually keeps us psychologically connected to experiences we are trying to move beyond. Forgiveness says, I choose freedom over emotional bondage. It's one way to look at it, emotional bondage. And sometimes the person most deeply liberated through forgiveness is ourselves. Really, it's ourselves. Not because the past didn't happen, it did, most certainly did, but because carrying it indefinitely no longer serves life. Think about it, life with an uppercase L even. And in this surrender, remember, surrender is not giving up. I want to clarify this. It's very, very, very important. It's not waving the white flag, right? Releasing is not quitting. Surrender is not weakness. Letting go is not giving up on life. Sometimes surrender is actually wisdom. It is recognizing what no longer serves. It's recognizing what cannot be controlled. It's recognizing what has become unhealthy, what no longer aligns with growth. And mature people eventually learn something powerful. Not everything must be forced. One of the deepest spiritual practices is learning how to let go and let God. We heard a little bit about that this week. Yeah. Not passivity, not avoidance, but surrendering the illusion that we must personally control every outcome, every timeline, every circumstance, every person, right? Surrendering. Surrendering is not weakness. Surrender is trust. It's the willingness to say, there is an intelligence greater than my fear. There is wisdom greater than my confusion. There is divine order even when I cannot see it. It's there. Give it to God. And often, I think what exhausts people most is not life itself, but the constant mental strain of trying to force, manage, predict, and control everything. I'm not saying we all do that. I do a lot, but it's draining, and it is straining mentally. Sometimes peace begins the moment we loosen our grip. Some things must simply be released, right? So we're making space for something better, and this is where life becomes interesting, because often the moment we release what no longer belongs, something new begins appearing. We see this all the time. New ideas, new relationships, new opportunities, new energy, new clarity, right? New momentum because space has finally been cleared. And perhaps one of the greatest acts of self-respect is this: refusing to continue overcrowding your life with what no longer supports who you are becoming. So, we always give you an application and an action step, right? Something to apply in your life and action to take when you move out these doors. I'll give you a simple challenge this week. Just to ask yourself, this is easy, this isn't heavy lifting. Just ask yourself, what needs to be released physically? Just sit with it. What needs to be released mentally? What needs to be released emotionally? Then begin gently, gently. One drawer, one thought pattern, one unhealthy habit, one resentment, one burden, one conversation, one step at a time. Because release creates movement, right? We're stepping out of that being stagnant atmosphere. And movement creates transformation. So again, this week, release one physical thing, release one limiting thought, release one emotional burden, release one unnecessary worry, forgive one person, simplify one area of life, and trust God with one thing you've been mentally carrying alone. Think about that. We come here, we listen to these messages of transformation and of inspiration, but yet we often carry something all by ourselves in our humanness from that limited place and space when we can give it to God. I open my mind and heart, all that I am, to your wisdom, inspiration, and guidance. Spirit, speak to me in ways I cannot possibly ignore, so I may see the way through here, so I may be guided to right and perfect outcomes along my positive path for spiritual living. So let's wrap this up. Isaiah wrote, "Forget the former things. This is in Isaiah chapter 43, verses 18 and 19. Forget the former things. Behold, I do a new thing. What did Isaiah? I do a new thing. But before the new thing can fully emerge, something old often must be released. Can't say it enough. Repetition causes retention. That's why I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again. Perhaps spiritual growth, too, is not the accumulation of more knowledge. Perhaps it is the gradual clearing away of everything unlike the truth of who we really are. Perhaps the life you want is not as far away as you think. Perhaps what's needed most right now is simply space. Space for new energy, space for healing, space for clarity, space for possibility. And sometimes the first step to receiving more is finally becoming willing to let go. So, release, closing reflection here. Release is not loss when you are releasing when what you are releasing no longer supports the life you are trying to build, that you want to build, that you desire to build. So let me leave you with an affirmation here. I release all that no longer serves my highest good, and I open myself to the greater life of spirit within me. Did I say that slow enough, Sandy?
No.
Of course not. I release all that no longer serves my highest good, and I open myself to the greater life of spirit within me. And you can always come up afterwards and I'll give it to you. So I'm going to put a little background music on. We can just move into our time of meditation if you're comfortable with that. If you're comfortable, I invite you to close your outer eyes or just sit and relax and move into a prayerful state, whatever you're comfortable with. No rules, no regulations. Put on a little background music to help us relax. Take a deep breath. We're just gently settling into the stillness. Slow breath in. Turn that down a little bit. Take a slow breath in and softly release. Notice that we have to release the breath in order to take a new one. Just how we're wired, how we're put together. Let's breathe in peace. Breathe out tension. Allow the body to relax. Settling in even deeper. Allowing the mind to quiet. Allowing yourself to become fully present. Right here in this moment, right here, right now. Letting go of everything else. You'll get to it. Just be fully right here, right now, in this eternal moment of now. Now bring your awareness inward, beyond the noise, beyond the pressure, beyond the constant effort to control everything, and simply rest for a moment in the presence of God within you. there are things we were never meant to carry forever. Old fears, old worries, old resentments, old burdens, old emotional weight. And today we remember we do not have to hold on to what no longer serves our highest good. We willingly release thoughts, conditions, and attachments that no longer support the life of spirit within us. And so now, gently and lovingly, we begin to release. We release the need to control every outcome. We release unnecessary worry, emotional heaviness, limiting thoughts, fear of the future. We release the past. We brush it away. And now we silently affirm within ourselves, I release all that no longer serves my highest good, my highest good, my highest good. I let go of fear and open to greater peace. I trust the divine wisdom and order of life. I let go and I let God. Feel the mind becoming lighter. Feel the body softening. Feel the heart opening. You do not have to force life. You do not have to mentally carry every burden alone. The presence of God within you is already at work, guiding, restoring, renewing, opening new pathways. Now gently affirm, as I release, I make space for greater good. Divine life flows freely through me now. Rest for a moment in that awareness. Quiet, open, free. And gently return whenever you're ready, centered in peace, centered in trust, centered in possibility. Gently coming back to this time, this space, the here and the now. We say thanks be to God. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Amen. And I am going to release those of you looking in on social media. Thank you for being here. On behalf of Reverend Tanae and myself, I want to say we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in each and every one of you. You too, Mr. 𝗥𝗲𝗀, and those looking in our Zoom room, thank you for being here. We'll catch you next week. God bless you.